Hi, my name's Dee Clayton from Simply Amazing Training, and I wanted to take you through give you a feel for what virtual training is like. Many professionals have been on these one-day training courses, and you probably know what those are like. You don't know what ours are like, and ours are very different, but you get an idea of what you might be doing in a one-day face-to-face sort of way of training. But what you might not know is how that can convert really well to virtual training. And I just wanted to give you then an overview of how that might feel for you, some things to watch out for when you're looking out for who to use for virtual training, and really some ideas of how you as an individual can make the most out of virtual training if you choose to do that. So what happened before is most training, or much training, was face-to-face, and people would buy typically 1-day course, a 2-day course, something like that. And we'd sell mostly face-to-face training, either with individuals or with teams, and we'd do a series of 1-day programs together, or sometimes half days, but largely that's fairly typical and what we were used to. We did do some virtual training, but largely those were people that were abroad and couldn't do it so easily, so there wasn't necessarily first choice as virtual. Well, where we are now with COVID having forced people to do virtual training instead of face-to-face training, is what we did is at the very beginning of all of this, we spent a long time redesigning our content so that it worked on virtual training. So one of the watch outs is if you talk to a training provider and they literally have just changed their 1-day course to a 1-day virtual course, be very careful that they have, I guess, translated that information across, because it's not as easy as just doing it. Well, it can be as easy, but then it won't be effective. So you really want to make sure and ask questions about how they have converted it to be better in virtual. What we've done is we've taken a traditional content for a 1-day course and split it down into 4 sessions of 90 minutes. And those sessions might be a week apart or 2 weeks apart. And this is how we've done it for both our one-to-one training and our team training. And so what we do is then break down the training into smaller chunks, and with virtual generally people have a shorter attention span and we need to deliver smaller chunks, and the benefit of that is also then that you can go away and practice those smaller chunks in between sessions, rather than having a whole day training and maybe not being able to practice all of it at once. This breaks it down into smaller sections. So that's a real advantage. And actually that's one of the reasons why I will be favouring virtual training in the future. I'll be doing face-to-face training, but actually I think virtual training has so many more benefits in some areas, and that ability to really implement, because that's where training falls down, is people actually implementing it afterwards. We've always had a very high success rate at that, but not 100%. So, I think I'm going to be in favour, who knows, I might be eating my words, but I think I'm going to be in favour of promoting either all or certainly some elements of trainings going forward being virtual, so that people can implement things in smaller chunks, get that done, and then come back and top up and learn something else and put that on top and layer that on top. And that's maybe how it's going to go for us, but we'll see, I guess. Depends on what you guys want. So we've designed our course. We use a blended learning approach, or like different ways of learning. So you get home play, you have the live sessions, you submit a video, for example, of how your presentation have done, and we can give you feedback offline. We do email coaching support. We've got workbooks that we use so people can engage with the learning. We've got videos on our website, resources to help you. So we use lots of different ways of teaching you. Oh, obviously the book. How did I miss that one? And everything we teach, almost everything we teach, not everything, almost everything we teach in the presentation skills training is going to be backed up by something in one of the books, depending on which module you're doing, one of my books that I've written. So, there's solid backup behind what you're learning. So if you need more time to digest, or if you want to spread it out to your teams, there's some content that you can use and share with your teams and share with others that you work with. Over the first lockdown, there was a few people that we worked with one-to-one. less teams, a lot of those had postponed because they were just getting to grips with working from home. So mostly I worked with one-to-one clients during the very first period of the lockdown in 2020. And we worked with a solicitor who wanted to do better in internal interviews, and actually he went from being a really nervous presenter and now he's very confident, and he's last I heard he had a second interview externally actually, which is brilliant. I worked with a property investor who didn't want to do any presentations or pitches at all, and after we finished working with him, he has pitched really easily and virtually to bankers, to people that he would have been worried about presenting to before. We worked with sales professional who had just been put into a new role and he wanted to know how to really make that jump into selling more, being more presenting to the customer. He's gone from nervous and unconfident to really confident and professional. Worked with a partner in a very big worldwide company to work on her presence and showing who she is as a person in those interviews. I worked with a director of a big company and a group of directors. So lots of people we've worked with. It can work for anybody. The presentation skills training that we do is really our lead product, but then we often find that out of that comes other training, and lots of directors and senior executives then show us that they have other issues that want to work with us on, for example, time management, executive coaching, empowering other people, ways of working with their teams. All sorts of other things tend to come out from getting to know our clients through presentation skills training. You don't have to do that first, you can do the management training first, but that's generally how it seems to work for us, is we get called in for presentation skills training and then work with people from there on. Maybe insights discovery, we work with teams on helping different personality styles. Anyway, my last thing that I wanted to share with you is how you can make the most of your online training. So the first thing is really commit to the training. If you're going to do it, then commit to use that investment price that the company has invested in you or you've invested in yourself, and really commit to getting the most from the program. How do you do that? Firstly, schedule time, obviously, for the sessions with us. But secondly, schedule time to do your home play, because you're going to have stuff to do in between sessions. So schedule 1 to 2 hours between each session to do. It could be a review of the session you've just had, it could be to practice the thing, it could be to develop your presentation, it could be to do a feedback sandwich, it could be to do a video and send it to us, for example. It doesn't matter that you don't know what it is yet, but schedule those times in your diary, either a 2-hour chunk or a couple of 1 hours, however you prefer to do it. Might be reading time. And then really commit to practicing what you've learned, not within the 1 to 2 hours, but every time you go to a meeting, every time you make a phone call, every time you do an email, practice a little bit of what you've learned from us, because even though you might not be presenting, you are still communicating. So practice the things that we've spoken to you about, and especially with so many Zoom calls, if you've got lots of web calls going on, then you have a great opportunity to practice what you've learned. So that would be our plea. And then finally, be self-aware, so you review how you're doing. So practice it and then do the feedback sandwich, which we teach you, and review how well you're doing, and that way you will continue to improve even between the sessions where we see you. And that's what really means that people can have this dramatic improvement, going from being scared, worried or nervous about presenting to being confident, clear, calm presenters. If you have any questions or thoughts about how it works virtually, let me know. Hope this video has given you a little bit of a flavour, and hopefully drop me an email, give me a bell, let me know if you've got any more questions, and hopefully I'll talk to you soon.